get to it in a second. This guy here is an archaeologist and anthropologist. Yes, sir.
Hindi dagaran ni Salga or Kaswa Chap Temple Nation, Chapira the Bab.
No.
I don't
Watch.
Meg
temple. This is the temple we're talking. This is the exact same temple. The same temple. God's temple is one. Remember this tabernacle. It was portable. For many years it was portable until King David was portable. And King David wanted to build a temple for God so God can have a home. And God says, you're not going to build it. Your son is. And that's another story. We get into it. And the son that he had from his unauthorized marriage, okay, and so he had a son called Solomon, and Solomon is the one who built the temple. And Solomon was the wisest man ever lived because he asked from God one thing, wisdom, and God gave it to him in abundance. He gave so much. He had 700 wives and 1,000 concubines and so on and so forth. Anyway, I don't know how he handled it, but the bottom line is this: Solomon built the temple, the original temple. He brought all the cedar wood from Lebanon. Yeah. So all this details over it. He brought all the golds from all over the place. So it's very important information here. It's all in details. Exactly which prince of Lebanon helped him, gave him all the cedar, how they bartered. All this is here. All that was done, beautifully finished, God, gorgeous. But eventually, Israelites fell into the world. And they went off of their ways. They forgot God. You see, but that's the temple we're talking about, the dimensions, the detail. You see, because the tabernacle, as I said before, it's exact the same copy of God's throne in heaven. See, God's throne in heaven and the tabernacle is identical copies. So this is like a shadow of God's throne in heaven is the tabernacle. And that's why God gave Moses very detailed information. He said, make sure you do this exactly this way because there's a reason for it. And we're watching these reasons for it in the last chapters we'll be going through. So now we have this temple that was, so the Holy of Holies, which the tabernacle of God should be in it. So God can dwell in His people. Where? In Jerusalem. That's the whole key. But AD 70, the temple got destroyed. Okay? But now, and so we're going to continue. So this archaeologist spent all this time, you see, in 1982, he finally came to this detailed conclusion, which I'm going to get to in a second, that the temple is not exactly where what? You see, what was holding Israelites or the Jews back from building the temple? Because on Temple Mount, there's another temple called, anybody? The Dome of the Rock. The Dome of the Rock is the third holiest mosque for the Islam. It's the third holiest place. There's a reason for it. We're going to get to it. And it's where it's sitting. It's sitting on Temple Mount. So could you imagine, in order for all these years, the Jews are thinking that, well, how are we going to bring down the mosque to put out a temple? It just doesn't work. It's not going to happen. But almost 2,000 years ago, God already planned it and told John. That's the point I was trying to say earlier. How is these leaders don't read the stuff, they don't get it. It's right there, and it's black and white. He told John 2,000 years ago, measure the temple, and it's in its first court only. Do not measure the outer court. And not until 1982 that this Jewish archaeologist discovered that the outer court is where actually the Dome of the Rock is. Not where they were thinking it is. All this time they were thinking that the Dome of the Rock, which is the golden dome, the mosque that in every pictures of Jerusalem you see, that everybody thinks that that place was built over the temple. It's not built over the temple. It's built in what? In the Gentiles' court, which was given to them by God originally. God said, that's for the Gentiles, don't touch it. Unbelievable. And these geniuses, nobody figured this out. It's right here. And you know what? I don't even have a degree in this, and I figured it out. It's so simple. But here, this in 1982, I'm going to get into a little more details. The Dome of the Rock was built in 8th century. To be exact, it's 691 AD. Right? It's the third holiest site of Islam. Now, it's 690 AD. This is the story of it. Okay, why it's such a holy place? Why it's such an important place? After Mecca and Medina, this is the third most holiest place. You know, why? So we had it, Prophet Muhammad, all right, he came to Jerusalem 690 AD. He came to Jerusalem and he was sitting on that Temple Mount on a rock when he fell into a daze. This is according to the Quran and the teachings of it. That he was transported just like Jacob did in the ladder, and he saw this vision, the angels going up and down. Well, he was transported up to heaven. And guess who he had a meeting with? He had a meeting with Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. Yeah, guess what? Exactly. Yeah, and then all these people are making wars with each other for no reason. Nobody knows. Muhammad himself went up there. He had a meeting. He came back down. And that rock, that's why it's called the Dome of the Rock. It's a big, very large, jagged rock sitting right there. And they built this mosque around it. And it's a worship temple, of course. But all this time, the Jews were thinking that it was built over where God's throne was, where the original David's temple was. It's not. It gets better. It gets even better. It gets amazingly better. Watch this. So, little north of it, just a little north of Dome of the Rock, the mosque, okay, there is Dome of the Spirit. Dome of the Spirit and the tablets. What's that? It's a gazebo. And it has a name for it. It's called Dome of the Spirit and the tablets. The people who built the Dome of the Mosque, they realized something, apparently, that they built the mosque here, where the rock was. And they felt something, and they put a gazebo, just like this one. And they called it the Dome of the Spirit and the tablet. Okay, let's think about it. So, it's called the Dome of the Spirit and the tablet, which are, remember, what's in God's tabernacle? What's in the actual tabernacle? The 10 Commandments. There you go. So, and what dwells right above the tabernacle? Okay, in the kobod, it's called the kobod. What dwells in the kobod? God's Spirit. God says, this is where I would live with my people. So imagine, at 691 AD, the people who built the Dome of the Rock, the mosque, built this gazebo, and they called it the Spirit. I'm getting goosebumps. It's amazing stuff here. I don't get, people don't understand it. They wrote here that this is where the Spirit of God is, and the 10 Commandments, basically. That's why they called it that. It has nothing to do with the other. How amazing is this? It's unbelievable to me. But anyway, that's what's my favorite chapter. So, now, above it is the kabod, which is God's Spirit, and it's visible. You see, God said that I will be visibly there among you in the Holy of Holies. Now, the rock inside the mosque is very, very large and it's jagged. Okay? It's a sharp rock. It sticks out like this. It's on an angle. Now, and it's not even. But the little rock that is under that gazebo, it's done where the Spirit, the Dome of the Spirit and the rock of, that rock is a bedrock. It's a natural bedrock, perfectly flat and a square. It's a natural bedrock, flat, and none human tool ever touched it, which corresponds exactly in the way of the Holy of Holies was built in the temple. You see, when God said, when you built me the temple, in the Holy of Holies, no tools allowed. I don't want to hear any tools when my temple is being built, especially the Holy of Holies. No tool was allowed. So whatever had to be built was supposed to be built around something perfectly solid and flat. So that's that same exact rock, okay, that's sitting there until today, which the Holy of Holies was originally there before the temple was destroyed. So, if you, now, so, God tells us in advance, see, almost 1,200 years in advance, He told, see, 1,200 years before the mosque was built, God already told them what's supposed to be done, and how it's supposed to be done, and where it's supposed to be done. God already planned it. And He had those people who were building it, some way, somehow penetrated into their spirits or into their mind and their souls, and got them to build it exactly here. And he even told them that put a little something over where my spirit and my 10 commandments are. Wow. Seriously. This is a wow. This is hello Israel, hello Arab world, hello everybody. Can't you guys get this? Read it. I don't know. Some pastor or Obama, you should read it to them, whatever. Try to tell people this is what's going on. How simple is this? It's just flat out. It's in black and white. It's not complicated. So, see, God gave it to the Gentiles 1,200 years before He wrote this down. 1,200 years before Islam was even existed, before Muhammad was even born, before all these things that happened, before all of it was, this is already written. God already said, give it to them and don't write it. And John is going, why are we giving the courtyard to the Gentiles? What do they got to do with it? This is our temple, it's our mount, God said, don't worry about it. I give you the rod, measure, and don't touch it. That's what I want you to do. This is how God works. Need to know basis information. He doesn't need to tell you more than that. You don't need to know. It's need to know basis. As you grow, you understand. And you're a baby, you get fed like a baby. When you are, you get fed milk. And then eventually cereal, eventually, solid foods. But until you get older, you're not going to understand everything because God, the Lord, is going to minister to us and communicate to us slowly. You need to know basis. This is all you need to know, he told John. Write this down and don't worry about it. Don't ask questions. That's what I want to be done. You'll find out later. When 2013, this Pastor Jacob will be talking up there. He's explaining it. Maybe you guys will get it then. Until then, I don't know. Good luck. This is what he's saying. I don't know. This is just my opinion. But here. So, the Antichrist is going to make peace and rebuild that temple. See? And sacrifice will resume again. See, since AD 70, Jews have not been able to forgive, they have their sins forgiven. You know why? Because they don't have a temple. They don't have a Holy of Holies. They have a lot of synagogues, but it's not a temple. It's one temple, and that's the temple of God. And that's where they have to sacrifice the Holy of Holies. The high priest has to go in and sacrifice the lamb, the blood of lamb, for everybody's sin in Yom Kippur. All the details, we get into it even more. But these are all the information that all these years the Jews cannot go and have their sins forgiven completely because they don't have a place to do it. All right? So this Antichrist is going to come and he's going to make this peace and he's going to make the dream of the Jews come true. He's going to figure out supposedly what I've just been saying. Very simply, it's right there. And he's going to make some kind of a deal that the Arabs and the Jews are going to agree to put up with some kind of a nice little grapevine or something in the middle of the two and build the temple here. So you're a Muslim, you still can go worship over here. Don't worry about them. And they're a Jew, you can go worship over there. Don't worry about them. Everybody's happy. And if you're a Christian like us, and you can worship anywhere, so it's a great part about that. Anyway, so, and he's eventually, what the Antichrist is going to do is now, so he's going to resume the sacrifice. And the Jews are going to be happy, now they can go sacrifice, 3.5 years, finally, this guy is the best of the best. Look what he did for us. Okay, remember, his number one fan club is going to be the Jews. He's going to be like, hey, the main guy for them, the main character is going to say, yeah, see what I did for you? I did it. Nobody else can do it. I did it. That's what he's going to say. So, and then he's going to enter the Holy of Holies, declare himself as the Messiah. And that's what's known as the abomination of the desolation. See, that's when God's wrath is really going to come down on earth. All the stuff I've been saying all this time, it's been just kind of like a preview still. This is going to be the abomination of the desolation. When the Antichrist is going to walk in, the Holy of Holies is going to say, guess what? I did all this. I am the Messiah. I am the one you guys have been waiting for. Worship me. Bow down. But remember,